Let's get this straight. Positioning and branding are not the same thing. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Kelly Charles Collins, also known as the Speaker Mogul. And I want to talk to you today about the 8 layers of positioning. It's what I call the 8 layers of positioning. And the reason I want to have this conversation today is because I know that the misperception, I'll call it that, the misperception that positioning and branding are the same thing has some of y'all in a chokehold and is what is holding you back. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I am a retired trial attorney. I am now a keynote speaker, an award winning TEDx speaker, and a strategic advisor for women experts. What that means is I work with professional women who are highly credentialed. So think lawyers, doctors, HR professionals. Y'all got every degree, every certification, every honorific. Y'all, you know who you are. I help you to position your expertise, to package it for transformation, and then to price it for profit. These things are all very important because the women that I work with want to transition or have transitioned out of the corporate arena, and they are building expertise based businesses. So that means that you're a speaker, a trainer, a coach, or a consultant. And I call you all expertpreneurs, meaning that you make money with your mind. And in order to do that well, in order to do that consistently, in order to do that profitably, we have to understand that it requires us to be powerfully positioned. A lot of us come out into entrepreneurship, and the first thing that we want to do is like, I got to get my brand together. Yes, that's important. But your brand is born out of your positioning if you do it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to be branding backwards. Branding is the visual, it's the visual aesthetic, it's the visual representation of your positioning. And so when you decide to choose your colors and your fonts and your logo and all of the things that people can see and experience about your brand, it should come from your positioning. But many of you, one, don't know what positioning is, or two, just think that it's, that's the fluff. You don't need that part of it. But I'm here to tell you that if you want to close these corporate contracts, if you want to command premium fees, if you want to be the solution for people and not just a solution, you need to work on your positioning. And so I want to talk to you today about what I call the 8 layers of positioning. And let's think about positioning as the foundation. This is your blueprint or your black print, as I like to call things. This is the internal work that needs to be done so that you can show up as powerfully as you need to for the people who you are trying to serve. Now, before I dive in, and we're not going to be here for a long time, but before I dive in, I want to make sure that you see what's scrolling across the bottom. It is our link for our Speaking Industry Expo. That's coming up March 16th through the 18th in Atlanta. Grab your tickets, grab your tickets. You can go to speakingindustryexpo.com, XPO. At the 6, we are going to be doing all of this, your positioning, your packaging, your pricing, to ensure that you can show up powerfully. We don't want another, 2025, 2024, 2020, whatever it was, right? That made you think, I don't know if I'm built for this. I know that you're built for this. I know that the women who come into my orbit are built for this. You have all of the experience and the credentials and the degrees. I like to say your degrees and pedigrees, right? You have all of it and the decades of experience. And so what you need, though, is structure. What you need is to understand how to leverage that and put it into something that people understand and want to buy. And so that's what positioning, packaging, and pricing is all about. And that's what the 6 is all about. The 6 will not be a place where you just come and take notes. It is where you're going to come and actually do the work. Last night, I was working on the run of show. I'm so excited about it. Y'all are going to be so thrilled, those of you who are going to be in the room, because we're really going to get some work done. We're really going to dive in and understand what it takes and start to build the relationships that we need to take us into our next levels. So let's talk about these 8 layers of positioning. When we start to think about how we show up in the world as expertpreneurs, again, people who make money from their mind, we have to understand that there are a lot of layers to that showing up. It's not just about saying, "Oh, I'm an expert. Oh, I want to close a corporate contract. Oh, I want to be on that keynote stage." It's not that. There's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes so that when you show up, people understand exactly who you are, who you're speaking to, what problems you solve, the impacts that you're trying to create. So I'm going to give you the 8 layers that you need to be considering as you think about your positioning. All right. So, first things first, first thing that you have to know is who you are. And I mean who you are right now, because that is the first layer to, I guess, like peeling an onion, right? This is the first layer to get to where the money resides, which I will tell you at level 8, right? At layer 8. But you want to understand who you are right now. That could be who you are in terms of your title. It could be who you are in terms of the vision that you have of yourself right now, who it is in terms of where you're working, what you're doing, what you're aspiring to, but who you are right now. What is your current state? That is the first layer that you need to understand who you are right now. Layer 2, who do you want to become? Some of you are in the corporate arena and you want to transition out, like I was. When I was in corporate, I was a lawyer, trial lawyer, and a partner in a law firm. And I decided that I wanted to transition out of the practice of law to become a keynote speaker. And so I knew who I was. Layer 1, who was I? Practicing trial attorney and law firm partner. Layer 2, who did I want to become? I wanted to become a keynote speaker who at the time was speaking about unconscious bias, and I wanted to really impact cultures, right? So, who I wanted to become was this keynote speaker. These layers are important because when you know who you are, layer 1, and then decide who you want to become, layer 2, those things will help you to understand what do you need next? What are the expertise that you might need? What are the resources that you may need? What are the relationships that you may need in order to help you to become that person? And so again, it's not just I'm giving you like the high level of, what these layers are, but I want you to understand that within each layer there's additional work that needs to be done, but I want to give you this framework. So layer 1, who are you? Layer 2, who do you want to become? Layer 3, what is the impact? What is the impact that you want to create? When I was transitioning from being a lawyer to being a speaker, the impact that I wanted to create was to ensure that my son was not the next hashtag. Because at that time, we were having all of these at the time when I was transitioning, we didn't yet have George Floyd. However, we still at that time had a lot of things going on with police brutality. And if you know, I did my TEDx, my award-winning TEDx actually. I did my TEDx and it was about the bystander intervention. And I talk about how my son was brutalized by the police. And so I wanted to ensure that I could train leaders and employees around bias and help them to understand that everybody's a human being and how to treat people well. So that's the impact that I wanted to create. I wanted to create a culture shift around how people are seen and how people are heard and how people are valued. So that was my layer 3. Now, again, When you have those things and you understand the layers, you understand, what do I need next? How am I going to go out and create that impact? So, layer three is, what impact do you want to create? Layer four. Layer four is, who do you want to serve? So I call this your consuming audience, the people who are going to benefit from whatever work it is that you decide to do. Who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve companies? So do you want to be in a B2B, business to business environment? Do you want to serve individuals? So you want to be in a B2C, business to consumer environment? Or do you want to be in a what I call kind of a hybrid, right? And so when I say a hybrid, what I'm talking about is, it's business to business. However, you're working with individuals, like, women businesses, small business owners, who don't necessarily think of themselves as corporations or companies, and so they don't think of themselves as B2B. You also don't think of them as B2B. You think of them as B2C, and so you treat them as like customers or consumers, as opposed to business owners. But that's another, like, a hybrid. So you have somebody who is an individual who is running a business, and they are coming to work with you in their capacity as a business owner. They're not coming in their capacity as an individual. They just happen to be the individual who owns the business. I hope y'all caught that distinction, right? And so you have to understand who it is that you want to serve, because that is another layer of positioning, because all of these layers will end up um, helping you to focus your branding and also help you focus around your messaging. So, layer four is, who do you want to serve? And it could be a mix, it could be B2B and it could be B2C, but you just need to understand who that consuming audience is. Layer five, what problems do you want to solve? Here's why this is important. I'll just use women for an example. You may want to work with women, but we have all kinds of problems. We have business problems, we have personal problems, we have life issues, we have all the things. You may not want to solve all of our problems, and you should not want to solve all of our problems. You should want to solve problems for that audience that you have a deep level of expertise in, and that you can actually make a difference, that you can actually create the impact that you say that you wanted to create. And so when you're thinking about the audience, right? Layer four, when you think about your layer four, which is your consuming audience, what are the problems that they have that you are uniquely qualified to solve? And that is what you need to focus on. Not every and any problem. You don't want to be a generalist. You want to be an expert in your field. This is why we call you expertpreneurs. So we want to be an expert in our field so that we can solve those problems. Layer six, how will you solve that problem? Now, you're not the only person who's going to want to create the impact that you want to create. You're not the only person who's going to want to do it for this particular audience. You're not the only person who's going to want to solve these particular problems. However, your differentiator is at layer six, and at that layer, it says you determine how you will uniquely solve those problems. What is your system? What is your process? What is your mechanism? What is your framework? What is your methodology? However you want to call it. This is your unique way of being able to solve the problem. So when they say, well, I talked to somebody else and they told me this and they said that they could solve my problem, great. They can't solve it like you. And this is why I say you need to have a deep level of expertise in that area so that you can develop your own methodologies and your own unique mechanisms for how to solve the problem. And then you name that thing. right? So that you can use that and it becomes proprietary to you. It becomes your intellectual property. So at layer 6, we need to know what is your unique way? How are you uniquely going to solve these problems for this audience? Layer 7. Layer 7, we need to know from you, why is this important? Why is this so important to you? Why do you want to become this person? Why do you want to create this impact? Why do you want to work with these people? Why do you want to solve these problems? Why is this important to you? And when I talk about why it's important to you, I mean not at a surface level. I need you to get really, really deep. This is one of the exercises that I do with my clients when I'm working with them on their signature talk. Before we even build out the talk, we go through foundation. And part of that foundation is to get to their why, not surface level, like their real why, deep down to the point where generally somebody either gets mad or they're crying because we finally hit the mark. We finally understand why this is so important. And here's why I know that the why is so important, and how it impacts layer 8. I'm going to give you an example. I was asked to. An incident happened at a conference. Somebody was in that audience and said, "Hey, they knew that they had to fix it. The conference people knew that, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. We have to fix this because it created a ruckus." Someone was in the audience and they said, "Hey, I know the person who can help us fix this." So I had a conversation with the conference organizer, talking about what happened and how I could resolve the issue, help them, how I was the solution for them. I submitted my proposal. I gave them different options. We had long conversation talking about, what happened, what my thoughts were around it, how I could solve it for them. I was not the only person who they were, interviewing essentially around being the person who could help them to solve this problem. They came back to me and they said that they selected me, and they said specifically to me that, they selected me even though I was not the lowest bid, right? In terms of pricing, I was not the lowest. But they said that the reason that they selected me is because they could tell that I really cared about the topic. I really cared about the transformation. I really cared about making sure that we made this situation right. And the reason that they were able to get that from me and get that sense from me is because I really understood my why. And the topic that I was talking about and the thing that I needed to help them resolve was deeply rooted in my why. And so at layer 7, you really need to understand what your why is. And it's not the first thing that comes out of your mouth. I can promise you that. It is why Toyota created the whole 5 whys, and they go deep and deep and deep because it's an exercise in understanding the root cause. And so you need to understand the root cause of why you want to work with these people on these problems and create this impact at this time in your life. Okay. So that's layer 7. And then layer 8, I always say this, where the money reside. Y'all know where that comes from, right? Where the money reside, where the money reside. Anyway, layer 8 is where the money resides in positioning. And this is very important. All of the other stuff, right, is like the internal work that you need to do to really understand who you are and what you want to do in the world. But we have to get so crystal clear about it so that layer 8 supports it. And layer 8 is, why should anyone care enough about any of that stuff that you're talking about in layers 1 through 7 to want to pay you for it? So this is where our paying audience comes into play. And if they can't understand why they should care about it, why they should care about you and wanting to solve their problem in the way that you want to solve it, they're not going to pay you for it. So you need to understand that this is where the money resides at the level of why. So level 7 is your why, level 8 is their why, and that's where the money resides. So quick and dirty, quick and dirty, giving you those 8 layers of positioning. This is what it's going to take for you to get to the money. Now, I just gave you these layers. I just told you what they are. It's one thing for me to tell you, it's another thing for you to do the work, to answer the questions, to gather the information, to get the data together so that you can then position yourself powerfully, have it used in your sales, have it used in your marketing, have it show up visually in your branding. Some of you will be like, "Ugh, I ain't got time for all that. I'm not doing all that." Or some of you are like, hey, Kelly, yes, I definitely want to do that. I do want to know how to get this done. However, I don't know how to answer all those questions. I don't know, what the next steps are. I got you. I got you. I'm never one to create a problem without a solution. So, for those of you who are saying, "Oh my god, this is exactly what I needed. This is what's going to take me to the next level. This is going to stop me like all the spinning around in my mind. It's going to stop all of the confusion. It's going to stop me from doing, you know, all the work, doing all these things and not getting results." So, here's a solution. The solution is to join me for the 6th, the Speaking Industry Expo in Atlanta, March 16th through the 18th, because we are going to get all of your positioning together. I have developed what we call the mogul operating system, mogul, MOGUL operating system. In that system, I have created custom GPTs who are infused with my wisdom, my strategies, my frameworks. And one of those GPTs, her name is Paisley, and her only job is to help you to get your positioning together. So these layers are all baked into her, and she will take you on a guided tour through your positioning and making sure that you have powerful positioning. You don't have to know anything but answers to these questions, and she will help you do the rest. She will put it all together for you. She will analyze the data. She will synthesize the data. She will challenge you if she thinks that you're being too shallow. And at the end, she will deliver a report for you that has all of your positioning intact. And so she's just one of the GPTs that we will be working with at the 6, but each of them will give you a report. Each of them are built specifically to help you work through a particular thing. So we're going to do all of your packaging. So your offer ecosystems will build your offers. We're going to develop your pricing so you never have to guess about that anymore. And you can be confident in saying the number and not being fearful that you can't deliver on it. We are going to make sure that you have that. We'll make sure that you have your systems, understand how you can build your back end systems using Go High Level, which is the CRM that I use and love, and they are our presenting sponsor. So they'll be there in person to train you about their system. So if you are like, I need to get my positioning together. I need to get my offers together. I need to get my pricing together because this ain't working. I'm out here with all these decades, degrees, and pedigrees, and people are asking me to speak for exposure or for free, or worse, I'm the one out here, saying I'll do it for free or charging $500 for things that should be costing $50,000. So if this sounds like you, if you went through the 8 layers of positioning and you're like, yeah, Kelly, I need I need this. This is what I need to move me forward. Then if you're on your desktop, scan the QR code that's up in the top. That will take you directly to the website, or you can go to speakingindustryexpo.com. So it's xpo.com and grab your ticket. We have 2 ticket levels. We have a 2-day ticket and a 3-day ticket. For our 3-day ticket, we only have 6 of those left. So go get your ticket. Go get your ticket. Stop complaining about not having the things that you need. It's going to be here for you at the 6 in Atlanta, March 16th through the 18th, all on a silver platter for you. So let's run through the 8 layers again before I get out of here. Layer 1. So these are the 8 layers of positioning. Layer 1, who are you currently? Your current state, who are you? Layer 2, who do you want to become? Layer 3, what is the impact that you want to create? Layer 4, who are the people that you want to serve? So, who are the people that you want to create that impact for? Think of them as your consuming audience. Layer 5, what problems do they have that you want to serve? That you want to solve. What problems do they have that you want to solve? That is layer 5. Layer 6, how will you uniquely solve their problems? So, how will you be the solution, not a solution? That is layer 6. Layer 7, why is all of this important to you? Why do you care about any of this? Why is this the type of work that you want to do for these type of people? And layer 7, why should these people that you want to serve, why should they care enough to want to pay you? And again, a reminder that the money resides at layers 7 and 8. Money resides at the level of why. If you cannot explain why and they can't see why, then they're not going to pay you. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me. I see we have some people that have been live. If you have any questions, drop your comments, questions. I'm happy to answer. Go get your ticket for the 6th speakingindustryexpo.com. And, I'll be back with gems. I'm always back with gems. If you have something that you want me to talk about, if you have a question, if you're an expertpreneur and you have a question about how to position, package, or price your expertise for profit, just let me know. Drop it in the comments. And until next time, take care.